to the January 28th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Everybody rise to the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the late start. We had an executive session earlier. We have no public hearing this evening. Any announcements from the board? If not, any additions or deletions to the agenda? We'll deal with that as we go along. We do have an appointment. Sterling Roop is a partnership specialist with the U.S. Census for 2020.
Yeah.
So he's going to give us a little bit of a
a little spiel about how important the census is for everybody.
Okay.
Maybe ask a little bit of you as the selectmen. I've had a great email with Gary already about partnering with us, helping us share the word about the importance of the census.
Okay.
The Census Bureau, we're a federal agency. We're the largest statistical agency in the country, running censuses and surveys all the time. Next Friday, you'll hear the new labor statistics about the unemployment rate. We actually collect that data for the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So we run surveys all the time, but the even years, 2020, is when we have the decennial census, every 10-year census. And that's the constitutionally mandated exercise that we are tasked with every 10 years. It's actually the sixth sentence of the Constitution. So our founding fathers saw it as a very important exercise. And it's important in modern context for two reasons. Both that original reason that the framers laid out in terms of how we apportion the seats in Congress, so our political voice, the shapes our representation at the national level. The state then also uses census data to divide up our state legislature. Cities and towns also use it to set up school districts and probably even selectmen or city council districts as well. It's also very important because the federal government distributes more than $675 billion a year based on census data. This is money for roads and bridges. It's money for schools. It's money for healthcare programs for our youngest and for our oldest. So the census is really something that touches all of our lives on a day-to-day basis, but we don't really think about it. It's one of these kind of bureaucratic exercises that comes around every 10 years, but it is something that's really important. And our goal for 2020, as it is in any year, is to count everybody, to count them just one time, and to make sure we count them in the right place. The census is really, it's safe, it's easy, and I already touched on it's important. In terms of the safety component, everyone who works for the Census Bureau, we take an oath to protect any personal information that we come across in the course of our work. Not just while we work for the Census Bureau, but we take that data to the grave. If we share any personal identifying information, we go to jail for 5 years and or are fined $250,000. We're also an agency that is a federal agency, but we're walled off within the federal government. We only share statistical information. We're all data nerds, and we love sharing that data, but nothing that could identify an individual. So that information is walled off from the rest of the government. We take cybersecurity and our data security very, very seriously, from when we collect that information to where we store that information. And we'll never share information with another federal agency, with a state agency, with a landlord, with the State Revenue Service. We only share statistical information, and that is, it's easy too, because the census this year it's really exciting because people are going to be able to respond online or over the phone for the first time. If you've ever, and hopefully everyone has participated in the census before, you got a ballot in the mail and you filled it out and you sent it back. Well, this year it's a little bit different. The first thing that people will get addressed to their household, not to an individual, but just to the housing unit, will be an invitation to respond. It'll have that'll be in the middle of March. It'll have a web address, as well as phone numbers. We offer language support, direct language support in English, as well as 12 other languages besides English. And then you can go online and find language support in 59 other languages for those that we don't offer direct support in. So again, America is a big, diverse country. This is the largest mobilization of the federal government in peacetime, and we want to make sure we count every single person. If you don't respond to that initial invitation in the middle of March, we'll send you a reminder. We'll send you the paper ballot that like you've always had in the past. If you still haven't responded, that's when a friendly census enumerator comes to your house, knock, knock, knock. I'd like to ask you, my name is Sterling, I work for the U.S. Census Bureau. I'd like to ask you 9 easy questions, and we can get that taken care of. We want to make sure we count everybody. And I like to think about the census, yes, it's a federal exercise, but it's really a community-driven process. It's me responding means federal dollars coming to not only fund the services that I rely on, but my community, my neighbors rely on. We also hire the enumerators from communities themselves. Even partnership specialists. I live here in York County. I live in Biddeford. I cover southern Maine. I have a stake in this too. It's not just a paycheck. And a civic duty, obviously. But so we're hiring lots of people. I'd be remiss if I can hear my boss in New York saying we're all recruiters. We're trying to hire lots of people. It's $20 an hour. It's a flexible schedule. You can work as little as 10 hours. You can work as much as 40. It'll be during the spring, between April and July. And you can apply online. It's 2020census.gov/jobs. It's an online application, easy and simple. Paid training. It's a great opportunity to, if you spent maybe a little too much on your loved ones over the holidays, fill back up those coffers in the spring with a little side hustle with the census. We are seeking, again, like I said, this is a community-driven exercise. Partnership and working with local communities, organizations, local government helps us work with trusted voices to get the message out about the importance of the census. And that's part of the reason I'm here today, not just to talk to you and to the greater audience, but also seek your endorsement and to allow us to work with you to help spread the word. You know the community better than we ever can. We'll know lots of statistical information about the community, but you guys will know the messages that will ring true and how we can reach to those who might not be as ready or readily available to respond. We also collect lots of data, right? We're running all these surveys. We're going to collect the census data. We have a data dissemination program, which is a resource. We're a public good. We're a federal agency. We can come and work with, we can come and send someone or do a webinar, whether it's with the planning board or with the, if there's certain people in the town government that would like to learn how to use census data. Maybe there's a group of entrepreneurs in the community who want to start businesses or expand businesses. We have great data resources, and we can either do a webinar or have somebody come here in person to work on those things, to work with people in the community. So I can follow up. Maybe Gary is the best contact point for that. But again, we want to make sure that people also are able to use the data that we collect. Again, the statistical information and not personally identifying information. I'd just like to end with kind of one last thing. There is one exception to our sharing personal information rule, and that's after 72 years, we make census data public. And that's for historical and genealogical purposes. So the genealogists in the room, if there are any, are very excited for 2022 when we make the 1950 census data public. So any information you share this year will not be public until 2092. That's the law, and again, we take it very seriously to protecting that data for people. But again, this is a really important process, and I hope we want to get a really accurate count of the community here in Waterboro, but also across York County and all across Maine and the country. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
Questions from the board? When you said we send out a reminder, is that that information that you can share with the area or through the town to say, hey, these are the these are the homes that we haven't collected data from yet. I mean, so I guess what I'm looking for is you want our assistance in approaching in the masses here in the municipality to fill out the information. So what is the communication link back to us to say, you know, we've got a 33% response rate, or we've got a 52% response rate. Can you help us with a certain section of the town or whatever? Is there a mechanism for that?
That would be kind of through me and through we have a state office, one office that covers the whole state of Maine that's based up in Gardner. And they're the ones who supervise the enumerators, the door knocking process. And we will look at, and there will be a live website once the census starts. I think after about the first week, you'll be able to track response rate. You can look online and see how the community is doing. I know, like in Biddeford and Saco, two communities that are, I guess, frenemies or have had a long rival competition between the two of them. I'm trying to work with the town managers to get them to, like, whoever has the best self-response rate by the end of May. Well, you know, the city manager will wash the fire truck or the other community. So I can definitely make that. Keep in touch and let you guys know about that and kind of where we are. But in terms of the address list or kind of where we stand on the response rates, we'll handle that for the most part. Again, in terms of partnership, it's really about the communications and the outreach. If there are, we have a special process for counting group quarters, which would be like dormitories or assisted living facilities, and we'll reach out directly to them. We also have a special program to work to count homeless populations. If there's information that you may have about homeless populations in the community, that would be great, and I can follow up with Gary if he's the appropriate contact to make sure, because we do want to count every single person. Also in the packet there, I printed out from what is the projection that we have. It has Waterboro there. The darker the shading, the lower response rate we think we're going to have a harder time. So the lighter the shading, the better. It's that first one there. And that's computed based on American Community Survey data, a bunch of demographic information that we have in terms of what do we anticipate will be the harder to count communities. Maine is generally a little bit better than other parts of the country. You think Orono is a good example where they have big university and a military as well, two very transient populations. They're going to be harder to count for us. Portland is another example of what we're anticipating is another pretty hard to count community. Sanford and Biddeford are also in York County are two of the most difficult that we're projecting for that self-response. So we'll work with you guys, of course, to make sure we count everybody. But in the in the run up, helping us share the word, letting people know this is happening. If they go to the town website, they see, oh yeah, there's a reminder about the census. Stuff like that really helps us make sure that people know this is coming and reminds them like, oh yeah, we're going to respond. We're also working with school districts as well. Nothing more powerful than when Johnny comes home from school and says, hey mom, guess what I learned about today? The census. And then the thing comes in the mail or she's like, oh yeah, it's sitting on the kitchen table. I got to respond. So.
Well, we got a couple of, certainly some vehicles that we can use to help get the message out, and I'm sure Gary has shared some of that with you, but, more importantly, every couple of weeks that we're on live on the local channels and streaming here so that we can at least get some of that message out as well. So it's just, if we have that feedback of, we've reached 30% or 50% or whatever, then I think that we can help a little bit.
Exactly, and that's my job, and I will continue to liaise with you guys to keep you updated on how things are going.
You said you're in Biddeford. Your office is in Biddeford.
So my office is my upstairs home office. I
know your card says New York.
Yeah. So the bosses are in New York, but I live here in Maine. I'm just down the road.
You don't sound like you're from the Bronx or anything like that.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
So John Winslow, is you still your local area representative here? Or?
Not that I know of. I haven't met him, but I can.
I know he was 10 years ago. He was in the last census, right? That was.
Yeah. Yeah, he was recruiting people.
Okay. Yeah, we have recruiters around. I think there's 3 covering York County right now. Again, we're trying to hire. We're trying to recruit almost 14,000 people in the state of Maine and almost 2,000 just in York County. We're at about 40%. So I know you selectmen are busy, but
Side job.
that's right. That's right.
One quick point.
Maybe at $20 an hour, if you paid everybody to respond to $20, maybe they would.
That's an idea for the future, isn't it?
I didn't know how many of these you brought tonight.
I brought 4, and I can also send the apologies.
That's what I get for being late. I don't care.
No,
I can send it. I'll send all the information electronically as well.
fine.
If that's yeah.
And Dave Lowe is a gentleman in the back nodding his head right there. He's the IT director
Oh,
that we
great.
talked about. That
Yep.
would be helpful on the website.
Fantastic.
In the packets, if you have one, there's a list of about 35 things here that the community can pick and choose to help the census get the word out. And David and I would be working with you to help
Perfect.
do some of those things.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and thanks for the opportunity to talk to you tonight.
I appreciate you coming up.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Have any more cards, Sterling?
Yeah, he's got everybody pumped up. Good job. Open the floor to any public comment that anybody would like to make that's not on the agenda.
Thank you.
And we do have Sterling's business cards. Let's jump to,
Clyde, no public comment? No? I didn't know if that's why you were here.
No, from the videos from the last meeting that you had, there was going to be a follow-up to what was being done with the Pennant Hill closure. I thought there was going to be a report to that to the board, so we came to get updated on that.
As you know, but I'll say because you asked a very fine question, that this board does not want Jersey barriers or cables or anything else that could cause anybody to be hurt. So David Benton and I are working with, since the snow is largely gone, to use that on the end of the road probably won't work in the winter we're having. So maybe we need to go with some signposts and some large signs that say closed to winter operations and see if that works. But I don't know that there's going to be a discussion here. If the selectmen want to do that, that's fine. But,
I thought your motion certainly said at the last meeting that it was, you were looking not for cables, not for the concrete.
That was definite.
But my concern, and I know that we've had the melting now, but my concern was the 8-foot solid block of ice with no no posting on that. Because trust me, you're going to have some liability if you do that with people trying to get up and over on a snowmobile. So I would want that you would consider not putting an 8-foot wall of ice on that road as well, along with your cable and your concrete, because I think that could be a liability as well.
that's a good point. You get a snow banking that, is gone on the other side and somebody was up with a snowmobile, that's the recipe for disaster, right? So, but there's got to be, I think the key to anything that we do has to be with signage. We need to make sure that.
Absolutely. I agree. On
Both ends.
Both ends, I understand, before the pole line, that's what you had said. I just, and I just want to make sure that, there's not going to be cutting trees down over that road. I'm a little concerned about that too, that, that may have happened incidentally.
Yeah, I saw I think a posting somewhere on Facebook that said somebody cut a tree off and I don't know whose property it was dropped on, but there's only 3 or 4 property owners up there. One's the soil conservation, one is dairying, and one is the land trust. So,
yeah, and we believe it was the soil conservation land, and So, my concern is, as a taxpayer, if somebody's going to do those kinds of things, what's the repercussion for us as a taxpayer for that kind of thing? So I'm glad that you're looking at the signage. I was very appreciative of Mr. Woodson coming up with those ideas for that.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else?
That's it for us.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming to and sharing the concerns. Correspondence. We get treasurer's reports that are available if anybody would like to look at them. They're also available on the website. Reports and staff initiatives. Selectmen's report. Wayne, down the
No, ZBA was not tabled, but continued to February 6th.
okay.
The applicant didn't have quite all the information that the board wanted. Road review, I just met with them, and we didn't have members enough to hold a meeting, so that's why I'm back so quick.
Okay. Tim?
Nothing for me, thanks.
Ed?
Nothing right now, thank you.
Gordon?
Last Monday, we had our, what we call a kickoff meeting for the Community Center Steering Committee, where we met with the architectural firm for some preliminary discussions and sort of a timeline on when we expect information to come back and in what form that information is going to be in. And and it was a very, I think, very productive, enthusiastic type meeting. And at least we came away, feeling pretty good about, what they're going to do for us. To see how that translates into information for the public, I guess, remains to be seen. But I just mention it so that once again it's refreshing people's memories that we are looking at the possibility of having a community center in Waterboro that will also function as the recreation department, the public library, and a relocation center in during times of maybe environmental disaster like an ice storm or hurricane, as was mentioned earlier by somebody. Those types of things, plus a sports venue for intramural activities for the youth, their basketball, indoor soccer, maybe volleyball, the possibility of men's and women's leagues in, volleyball and soccer and basketball, and a host of, rental property if somebody wants to use it for a wedding venue or a family reunion where there's a large family, because there really is no other place in town that can house a very large gathering. So we're looking at all those options to try to incorporate within that. And like I say, the committee has been meeting for the last year and a half. Those meetings are all public too, if there's anybody that cares to, pop in on those and listen to the discussions. That's on Monday night at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
I guess that'll wrap it up.
Okay, thanks, Gordon.
You're welcome.
I don't have anything, so I'm going to default to Gary.
Okay, staying on the community center a little bit, some things have been brought up here. Scott Simons is the architect firm, and this concept design project is not to exceed $25,000 for these concept ideas. They'll be bringing 2 initial ideas to the committee, and then there will be public meetings, I believe, in March and April for getting some of those ideas out to the public and starting the public feedback process. The steering committee does not have any land yet. They are looking for potential donors or sellers of land. They have no money for that, but they've boiled it down to they would like to be looking for 10 buildable acres of land, so 10 buildable acres without wetlands. preferably on or near Route 202 or 5. They also would like to have new members on this committee that have expertise in construction, law, finance, fundraising, surveying, civil engineering, whatever, so that some of those people could morph off to be a real building committee 2 to 5 years from now if this idea ever moves forward to actually fruition and being built. So those are the things that are going on. I think probably at every meeting here, if not from Gordon or myself or others, you'll hear something about the community center efforts. There's one new street request that has just come up. Ledgeview Lane, a small subdivision north of the South Waterboro Road. The developers have applied to have it accepted as a town road. I'll be giving the documents to Lee J tomorrow. He'll look at them first, our town planner. He'll get his thoughts back to myself and David. And in my mind, we should hire our own civil engineer, and it would need to be somebody other than Sebago Technics, because that's the firm that was hired to submit the packet to us. And as I think the selectmen know, but people back home, street approval now is the purview of the Board of Selectmen and not a town meeting vote, because when we got rid of town meeting, that authority came over to the Board of Selectmen. And that would be sometime in February or March, potentially, if everything is in order. Last night, our budget committee, our 5-person budget committee, had an excellent meeting and a tour of the fire station. They were all there. Tim Neal also was there, the liaison, and we were there for a good hour and a half, I guess. They had some great questions. There's some good business minds, some thought-provoking questions that they had and things to discuss. It was very helpful and informative to them, and I thank them greatly for being there. We talked a lot about the ladder truck, since this Board of Selectmen and the town are going to have to figure out whether or not we replace that at this time or not. They had conversations about new versus old and the pros and cons of each. And then, unfortunately, that truck went to the garage today, and on the way driving itself to the garage, it broke down. I understand that it was a fuel pump or something along those lines, and it's since been fixed. But that was certainly something that was not something we wanted to hear, that the ladder truck was down again. The next budget committee meeting will be next Monday. General assistance with Nancy. The transfer station budget with Joanne Andrews. God bless her. She wants to come here and present Clint's budget that he and she worked on while he was sick and home before he passed. That's wonderful that she would like to come and do that. And then we're going to talk about the public works budget. That's most of the budget presentations. And then after that, we'll have the 2 to 3 meetings it usually takes to prioritize the whole budget and get their priorities down. And the only other thing here, Doug Foglio Senior stopped in last week, would like to resurrect the discussions and negotiations with the board on the property swap. Doug has a piece across from the transfer station that has some gravel on it, and we have a piece of land that we took for taxes, I guess, a long, long time ago, that's next to his North Waterboro pit. And he would like to trade with some financial consideration that the selectmen would have to negotiate. The only other one thing that happened today, which is actually happened yesterday, remember the John Barth case to ZBA? It was the case of he took the town to court because the ZBA upheld the code officer saying that a building permit had expired. There were 3 counts in court, and this has been going on for 2 years now. Anyway, on count 1 has been dismissed in our favor, which is wonderful news, and we're working for the attorneys to get counts 2 and 3 dismissed also, and that may take a few more weeks.
That's the one on the island?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. That's it from me, thank you.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Moving along, new business, discuss vote for an appointment to the Community Center Steering Committee. Community Center Steering Committee. Got me going too many seats. What's your pleasure? We have an applicant that has applied. Did that interview this evening, so. What is it?
I'll make a motion to appoint E. Jane to the steering committee.
I'll second it.
Okay, been moved and seconded to appoint Jane to the committee, steering committee. I think our discussions were pretty specific on what the expectations would be. Any other discussion? Sensing none, all those in favor? Opposed?
Opposed? 4-1.
4-1. So we'll contact E.Jane and let her know, okay? Where are we here? Initial discussions on proposed ordinance regarding write-in candidates in municipal elections. Recap this.
Yeah, you can, we also need to set a public hearing, and you can do that for the 11th or the 25th. So that's the real thrust of what we need to do here.
So the intent of this ordinance would be to pursuant to some provisions now in state law, votes for a write-in candidate in a municipality election will be counted only if the candidate has filed a timely declaration. And again, that was something that was part of M.R.S.A. subsection 696 and 722, and I think it was initiated in the last session of the legislature. So this would be an ordinance that in essence would require that anyone that becomes a write-in candidate, other than Mickey Mouse or Superman or of those natures, would have to declare that they are write-in before.
The 60 days is a state law now.
I believe that this is...
The only thing I question on that is, in the past, if something come up and somebody decided they was going to run, you could always run as a write-in in the last minute, but the 60 days, your absentee ballots are out there, but if somebody came in and could campaign in 2 weeks to write as a write-in, it kind of throws that right out the window. You got to plan ahead.
I guess we can answer that question or get that answer right. Is that the 60 days?
You cannot do that anymore. You have to be the write-in candidate beyond the 60
And
days.
that went to the state law, probably came because of the absentee ballots that are being voted on.
Right, an absentee ballot is 45 days before the election, so it has to be available. So this would make sense that 15 days prior to that becoming available, that
30 days.
30 days or 45? 30? I know we typically
think it changed to 45.
I know it's extended out there, so.
The other thing is that the folks working at the polls do not have to count Mickey Mouse and Superman anymore. We used to actually have to count those names and tally them up. We don't have to do them anymore. The poll workers can ignore anybody who's not a declared write-in candidate.
I suppose we could have a
Just clean.
registered voter that would be,
It's also.
it would be, his name was Mickey Mouse, but in most cases that's not.
Could be John Doe too, but.
Well, they better sign up to run, proper time.
A few years back, you had to spell the person's name very correctly.
Right, I can remember writing candidates that had labels.
Yeah.
Right? Put this on the ballot,
Yeah.
not X. So I'm sure that there's been all kinds of situations that have come up on write-in ballots. So anyway, this would be an ordinance, so I guess what's your pleasure on just scheduling a public hearing?
February 11th, we can do that.
So
Christine's
everybody okay
good with that
We'll
night.
just set it up for the 11th. And
Public meeting is
if there
in
happens to be a snow problem, then we just push it out to the 25th. It is, the 25th.
Yes.
I keep forgetting next month is the leap year. 29 days next month. Okay.
Want a motion on that?
No, I think we just scheduled the
Okay.
public hearing. Initial discussion on the location and new cost of figures on electronic sign. I think we do have an approved budget. As Gary mentioned earlier, what did you say they were coming with a
They're coming with
demo or?
a demo truck. Gordon, I don't think you were here for that. 5 o'clock on the 11th, there'll be a signed demo truck outside the town hall here. We can look at a variety of different pixels and resolutions, et cetera. We've got 2 bids in front of you. We haven't gone out to bid yet. These were just for rough estimates. And if you look at the one from M.R.S.A Graphics, you can see that for $13,000 to $14,000 at the less resolution 19 millimeter pixel center to center in one color, that's what you can get for a double-sided sign that is either 6 or 7 feet long and about 29 inches tall. You go up from there. There is a colored one down below. RGB stands for red, green, blue, and you're just about almost going to double the price if you go color with a higher resolution. And the other estimate you have here from Bailey Sign, he went an even higher resolution to both 10 and 8 millimeters that goes in the $25,000 to $30,000 category. My recommendation is to put the first one at the fire station since that sign blew over. We can ditch witch some power out there and have the first one, and then I think put a second one over here maybe a year afterwards. We have $20,000 now, which you can probably buy 2 boxes for that, but you're not going to get all the electrician labor and the other labor and the signposts and everything else done. So I'm happy to take your recommendation for where you want this first one to be, and that's where we'll put it. And just understand these are not final prices. We have not gone out to bid.
Sounds like there's lack of planning when we just had the water line put in and that power could have gone right on top of it. It would have been the cost of the power.
In a wrong place, though. The water line comes in from further east of that.
Comes
But
in right there at the fire station
yeah,
on the
but,
property. So
right. But it's yeah. I guess
Little bit from
you
where
could have
the
put
sign-
this. You could have put the sign back down there. You're right.
I'd like to see an estimate from R.S.D. for installation. They just say that will be an extra. Bailey gives a price for that, $2,200 for installation.
Yeah, but that's probably the sign itself and not, ditch witching or Ryan out there. I mean, we can go from the pole that's the closest to John Smith Road if we want to put up another meter on that pole, but then we'd have to go under John Smith Road. And I didn't know that we wanted to do that.
But these prices are kind of apple and oranges because one has its labor on it and the other one doesn't.
Yeah, well, when we go out to bid, I'm just going to bid for the sign. And I think not, and the installation on the posts, but not bringing in the power.
Right.
All right. So we've
I'm more
got
interested in location.
We've got.
I guess the question would be whether it's cheaper to go in a long term of a solar light than it is to run the power and what it's going to cost to run that sign.
Well, we want to have control of this. We have to have electricity to it.
It's got to be programmed, right?
Yeah, it's got to have
But if you
110
go to
power.
But that is
solar
an
could be
interesting alternative. Is maybe you could power it.
At least supplement it.
Yeah, I mean, because LEDs don't take a lot of juice, right? And whether
There is a solar system for that, because these solar panels are going to create
Yeah, Dave, please.
power up to 110.
right.
There's a wireless aspect to this for programming. I'm guessing we would go with a cellular module so that David or the fire chief could reprogram this at a moment's notice from anywhere. The power aspect, I mean, perhaps that can be with a battery bank. That's with an inverter, maybe so.
He's left.
Okay, that's fine.
Why I say that is all them lights on 295 at this point,
They're all solar.
and the turnpike are all solar.
Yep.
And the radio room changes those signs from Augusta.
Right. So they got to be a
They
cellular.
turn them on, they shut them off.
So there's got to be some sort of a cellular connection. So that they can-
Supervisor of the state police will radio to the radio room and say, shut them off or turn them on, and we've got backup here.
Because the state's got so much more money than we do. But you're right, if we're gonna do it, we ought to do it right.
I wouldn't say.
If we can do that, then you don't have to dig a ditch, and you can just have the battery bank out there. That's- We'll look at that.
Okay, anything else on that?
Location?
I think certainly the logical location has gotta be Route 5, right? I mean, you can put it out here, but I think you're gonna see 4 or 5 times the traffic on Route 5 than you would by downtown House Road.
Well, if you're going solar, some of these other places that we've mentioned could be a possibility.
Right.
Because it's just a matter of a signpost, East Waterboro intersection
Right.
of 202 and 5, and
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a negotiation with Hannaford and that staff.
Yeah.
I'm certainly willing to do that if you wanna.
We've asked once and no reply,
But
but
you go to that corporate office there in Scarborough
Yep.
and at least poke at that a little bit, so. Okay? But for now, I think, certainly from a planning perspective, just move forward with the Route 5 location. and-
fire station.
Right.
Yes?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Old business. Discuss possible vote to approve the amendments to the subdivision ordinance. I was not here at the last meeting where we had the public hearing. So I'm a little bit behind on this, but what is your pleasure?
I make a motion to approve the proposed subdivision ordinance as is,
So as presented at
as
the
presented.
public hearing?
I second that.
Been moved and seconded, and I guess do have a few members of the planning board here tonight. So we've gone through the public hearing process from the planning board?
Yes.
Gone through the public hearing process from the board. So the approval from the planning board was to send it to the Board of Selectmen, correct?
That's correct.
So is there anything else that we need to do?
And that was a unanimous vote by the planning board.
So, any further questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I understand the willingness to go forward in this, and there's a lot of work on this, but I'm hesitant about arbitrarily dismissing the concerns of a citizen that came before us, because I think it sends the message that the board isn't listening to what people have to say, and it's going to be a detractor from people actually, coming to town hall and voicing their opinion if they don't think that they're going to get fairly heard. And so, based on that, I know that the person that was raising all the objections is here tonight, and I had asked that the chair of the planning board also be present so that we could get firsthand information from that gentleman on the deliberations that were taken by the planning board, and because there was some questions, I guess, of potential dates or putting language in there that was once approved and then it wasn't approved, and so that I just want to make sure that we fairly hear the sides, so that so in the event that someone else comes here with some type of issue that before the board, that they can be assured that we're going to give it the proper due consideration that it deserves by getting all the facts, before we register a vote. It's just my opinion, Mr. Chairman.
Could I say something, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Mr. Prescott was here as a member of the planning board, not as a member of the public. He's a disgruntled member of the planning board that was unhappy with the process. We did not hear any criticism from the public. So we would not be stepping on the public's toes by approving this as is.
I think the general membership of the public isn't aware of what was going on, so
Well,
I don't know how.
Let me just, okay. When you make a statement like that, it kind of concerns me only because public hearings in the planning board, public hearing that certainly was advertised at the planning board, public hearing that we advertised for here, okay? So, you know, I'm a little concerned, and I wasn't at the public hearing, so I don't have a dog in this race, I guess, relative to comments, but the fact of the matter is that I think certainly the public had the opportunity to come in and discuss. So if you want to hear from the chairman of the planning board on the process that was used, I think you're going to certainly willing to entertain a discussion relative to that, but I don't see that this process deviated from any other planning board process, did it?
Yes, sir.
And fundamentally, we didn't change we updated the subdivision ordinance so it complies, or I shouldn't say complies, but it aligns with the revisions in state law.
Yes.
Is there any fundamental change that happened in the, we updated it so that it complied with the revised town charter, which talks about who has the authority to do what, right?
Yes, sir.
So, I guess I'm not sure what other clarification that we need.
Well, I know that the issues were raised last time about certain dates that I wanted to get cleared up, as well as language issues, and I see him over there shaking his head, so obviously he's got something to say. So I think this is the forum to say it, get it out in the open so that we can, make an informed vote. If it's just, otherwise we have to take, by the silence, we're going to have to take by face value that he is a disgruntled member of the planning board.
He's a member of the planning board that voted in favor of accepting the subdivision revisions and moving it to the board. It was a unanimous vote.
This document.
That's where the problem lies. I got a list of things that were discussed and passed by the planning board.
Okay.
The way the process works, we discussed it, we passed it, it was supposed to be put in. So when somebody says that you accept the language, these are included, but they were never put in. There's also been other language changes that were not discussed and not passed by the planning board that were put in. So by the time I caught up to all of this, and keep in mind, I want to thank the Board of Selectmen for our new appointees. Great job. They're going to do very well by this community. But they're brand new. We got members on that board, maybe on the 4th meeting. So now, I had to take the opportunity to move it to the Board of Selectmen so I could get to experience people who have generations in this town who've been through this. And that's why I voted to move it to the Board of Selectmen so I could have this conversation with you.
Okay.
Can I say something? The thing with the dates was just meant to muddy the water. The only date that matters is the date that they voted on to send it. That's the only date that matters at all. All these other dates are just insignificant.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there. We're dealing with muddy water, and I'd rather vote on a clear issue than to vote on a muddy issue. And that's why I want to get this cleared up, and I appreciate the chair of the planning board coming forward so that we'll have the opportunity to make sure that everything's clear.
Well, I'm hesitant to conduct a public hearing, okay? If there's specific questions that you have for the chair of the planning board, then we'll ask the question, right? But this isn't a debate. It's a debate amongst us, okay? Because we're here to decide whether or not we're going to approve it or not. If there's additional information that we need from the chair of the planning board, certainly he's here to express that. So if we have a specific question, then let's ask that. If not, I'm not sure why the waters are muddy. Is there an issue with, I guess to Dwayne's point, is the language that was approved not get included, or was stuff that was not approved added?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I guess that's the question.
All right. Let's see what we can do about clarifying this. And I
call it silliness, because it is. We went through, as a board, a very, very rigorous process of working with Lee J, working with Tim, and working through our board of revising the past ordinance to bring it into context with the current situation of our town and of state law. We went through from the beginning to the end in a series of meetings. Lori, I think there were 9 meetings at least.
There were 7 who we first initially reviewed the meetings. There was 2 of a draft, and then there was 1 night of the final subdivision review.
This is a longitudinal process in the sense that we started at the beginning and we concluded a chapter or so per meeting, reviewed it, referred it out to Natalie or other specialists that were required to have input, got it, confirmed and made a decision as a board that the revisions were correct, and then went to the next section. We did that section by section until we reached the end. We then had at least 2 reviews of the full document with the markups, which indicated what the changes were from the original to the final document. In each case, the board entertained potential changes. In each case, at some point, Mr. Prescott introduced motions for change that didn't achieve seconds. At other points, members of the board, including Mr. Prescott, introduced suggestions that were incorporated. In each case where there was a change, the following meeting, that change was reflected, reviewed, and we moved forward. The key was moving this forward until we had a final document. The final document was the subject of a public hearing. After the board agreed that this was the final document, and after the public hearing, the board unanimously agreed to pass it along to you for your action. There was no muddy water. There was no opportunity for muddy water because this was a transparent and consistent process that had the inclusion of all members of the board. So if you have a specific question, I'll do my best to answer it. It is certainly reflected in the video recordings of our meetings and in the documentation that we've presented.
I didn't have the benefit of being at your public hearing, but was any of the objections to the document raised by Dwayne during that time?
Well, it was a public hearing, so Mr. Prescott's a member of the board, so he didn't participate in the public hearing. Mr. Prescott, at one point towards the end, raised objections to language that went back to the beginning of our deliberations, and that was rejected by the board. We had already gone through those items multiple times and built on it. To restart the whole process at the beginning and go through it once again at that point was simply not going to be a good use of the planning board's time.
So basically what you're saying is the planning board,
Yes.
the entire planning board voted on this, and one person is disagreeing with what is presented to us?
That's correct. And you have a choice. You can either accept the fact that you have an 8-member planning board that worked diligently to get this done, working with Lee J, working with Glenn, working with Natalie, to a document that was agreed upon as a consistent document that was worthy of your review and action. Or you can say if one member dissents, then we throw the whole process into a series of allegations of muddiness, of inconsistency, and start again.
Just so that you know, you've only got a 7-member board, you may have 8 or 9.
Well, I'm sort of counting chairs, and
There's only 7 members on the planning board and never had any more than
well, thank you. So our board has carefully reviewed this, thoroughly reviewed it. We have members of our board who are former planning board members from other communities. We have brought the right expertise in to assist us where that was needed and used that. So I think you have to make a decision as to whether you accept the board's work or whether you accept a single dissent as muddying the waters. I think that you need to support the board.
Any other questions of the chair?
I thank the chairman for appearing tonight and for helping clear this up. I know it's cleared things up in my mind, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I've got a couple of questions on this, and I missed it on that public hearing, but section 3T, and it says,
Page you on, Dwayne?
page 4, gives the applicant gives the Department of Agriculture and Forestry 5 days to respond. The way the mail system works and the way the Department of Agriculture works, 5 days don't even get the letter open, so
I can tell
you're
you.
never going to get anything back from the Department of Agriculture in 5 days.
I don't recall that being a change from past language. I mean,
Well,
if it was,
if you're doing,
but
if
we
you're
did not
changing this-
address that during, to the best of my knowledge, during the course of our.
Well, if you was changing it, you probably should have looked at it, because I don't know if you've worked with the Department of Agriculture or Forestry, but it's a very slow organization right now.
Neither Lee J nor Glenn raised it as an issue that was.
I am, but
Yeah.
we've gone from 50 pages down to 19 or 20 pages, 21 pages. And my question is, you've cut almost half of that out, but will Natalie say that she can take this and to Superior Court or Supreme Court and guarantee us that she's going to withhold this like that company has in the last 40 years?
Natalie has reviewed it and approved it. Where you saw the reduction in the amount of verbiage in the document was that the old document often restated an existing state of Maine regulation. Every time the legislature changes that regulation, then you're stuck with rewriting that particular section.
My biggest point is, this is held up here in town against any lawsuit.
Yes.
For over 40 years.
And we
why
did
are
not
we
change it
changing yeah.
substantively, sir. What we did was simply take the restatement, the repeating of the written regulation, and simply instead incorporated it by reference, said, as noted in Maine Regulation XYZ as a citation. That way, every time that citation is changed, then our regulation stays current.
Yeah, I think, Dwayne, to your point, they're asking in that section that talks about that the Bureau shall respond within 5 days whether or not they will assist the community, and then they have 30 days to react to that.
If that notice is sent out today, we'll say
I'm making the
we
assumption
met
that it's
and-
5 working days, so it's
yes,
5
but if
business
it's sent out tomorrow morning, because we requested it as a planning board tonight, and it gets there Friday, and it sits on somebody's desk till Tuesday, it may, 5 days is not a long length of time today in one of these departments, and I don't care if it's the Department of Agriculture or...
Mr. Woodson, I can only tell you that that language, to the best of my knowledge, was not subject to our revision, that was in the prior document. And secondly, that neither Mr. Feldman nor Glenn reflected that this was an issue that...
That don't mean that I trust either one
Well,
of them.
but this is the regulation
Yeah.
that's been in place, and so that is something we could take up if you think that that's necessary
Before you could
further
get
down
on
the
phone
road.
and call them, and a phone call would get you something, but today it doesn't happen because nobody's in the office.
Okay.
What do you think it should be?
10 or 15.
So I'd like to amend my motion to include Dwayne's observation that should be changed from 5 to 15 days.
If you're gonna go a 2-week, which would be a 10-day, 2 weeks is 10 days, 15 would be.
It's better to be safe.
3 weeks.
Like Dennis says, I'm assuming that's working days, so.
Yeah.
It says it in
Yeah.
the ordinance, so.
I think
Isn't
if
that
you-
argument moot, because I don't think a local board can impose restrictions on a state agency
I
by
suspect-
telling them they shall respond within
This
5 days.
This is just allowing a certain amount of time for them to respond.
Yeah.
Respond that they will provide
They
assistance.
will
Yeah.
supply what's requested.
I mean, if you have questions about this, perhaps that's a good question to address to Lee J in terms of his experience in dealing with this as to whether that's been a concern. But my guess is, and it's only a guess since I'm not involved in the typical back and forth on that, is that there's a pretty good working relationship in terms of this standard and that we tend to get the information that's needed timely. I certainly haven't heard that that's
And
a
the
problem.
other thing that has changed is that they're gonna have an email the next day.
This is almost all electronic at this
Not
point.
gonna mail anything these days.
The trouble is, it used to be the forestry department or, there's 3 boards up there and they're half funded. So,
Yep.
all I'm saying is the board in Augusta is not funded and,
At this point, I can only say is that this issue has not arisen
Yeah.
in my term on the board, and I always get concerned if we fix a problem that doesn't exist, that we need to
jump back here
be
just a
careful.
minute, because you're willing to amend
My motion,
the
correct.
motion, you're willing to amend the second?
Yes.
All right. Any other questions? Sensing none, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of moving this on with the one amendment, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Nay.
4 to 1.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys Thursday. Yep.
Thank you, David, and Lori, and Dwayne.
See you, Bill.
All right. So let's get back to the agenda.
Was there no vote?
Item 11.
4 to 1.
Discuss and approve and vote the minutes of the January 14th meeting. I wasn't here, so I can't have a vote.
so moved.
Been
Second.
moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained?
401.
401.
Thank you, David.
Still waiting on road review for have a meeting so we can grab someone from.
We probably tonight might have started that, because I don't know that anybody really was, we only had one member show up, so, but you've got 2 new members and they thought that would be the place to
All right.
start them with.
You think Bennett Hill Road was on the agenda for them to talk about?
I didn't see the agenda.
Okay.
Nancy and I was the only ones that showed up.
Okay. All right, agenda items for the next meeting, we will run the public hearing for the write-in candidates. We also have a public hearing scheduled for special amusement, public hearing for the Blues Festival that will be held in August 22nd. We do have an appointment, Deputy Collins will be in to give us an update. We have, of course, we have the approval of the special amusement license. We also need to grant permission for the alcohol to be served at Friendship Park. I guess not alcohol, it's malt beverages, right, malt and vineyards. And then appointment of a warden for the March 3rd, June 9th, and November elections. So
Caucuses.
that's what's currently on the agenda.
Can I say one thing?
Anything? Yeah,
Quickly.
shoot.
Kevin Collins is coming at your next meeting, and we thought that they would kind of tag team, and every quarter, plus or minus, they would switch off and Dwayne would come the quarter after. So they're willing to put that on their schedule and make that happen.
Okay? Anything else you want to put on here? Well, I'm sure something will come up between now and then. All that being said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Move.
Second.
Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Good night, Irene. Up.